Well, hello everybody. Now you have two speakers, and we're going to talk about really the collapse of the Thomas Cook empire and what happened to the very important archives that it had. I'm Robin Jenkins. I'm one of the senior archivists at the Record Office for Leicestershire, Leicester and Rutland, and my colleague is also present.
Hi, I'm Jenny Moran. I'm the other senior archivist at the Record Office for Leicestershire, Leicester and Rutland. In fact, here we are.
There we are. Yes. It doesn't take a great deal of imagination to work out which is which. I am the one in the Batman suit, of course.
Thank you for that. Remember when you could just sit on a box sharing your cup of tea without wearing a face mask?
In close proximity. It's very scary now. Yes. There we are. And we're sitting actually in the Thomas Cook archive when it was the archive actually in the Thomas Cook Company in Peterborough. So there we are. It's a very interesting picture.
Yeah, you should see my moustache now.
Well, I don't think there's any need to introduce Thomas Cook, the company. It's an internationally famous company. It's one of those names. Everybody around the world will have heard of Thomas Cook. A lot of people around the world will have worked for Thomas Cook, will have seen Thomas Cook tours and all this sort of thing. And a lot of people here, of course, many millions of people will have travelled around the globe to all sorts of interesting places with Thomas Cook. So it was quite a shock. It's a shock to the public. I suspect not so much a shock to those in the business when the company collapsed after 180 something years of growth and innovation and development of the tourist industry. Really a company which had pushed the boundaries of tourism, hadn't it, Jenny? Really, they were always developing, always thinking of new things. They were always at the forefront of any development, whether it was new places to go, new ways of getting there, or even things like financial developments, travelers' checks and things like that. They were very much at the forefront of. And they were always eating up rivals and taking over other companies and this sort of thing. So Thomas Cook's was really an absolutely giant international company, and it had a worldwide reputation. And so when it collapsed suddenly, it was realized by a number of very important players, the Business Archives Council and archivists interested in business records, the National Archives and so on. It was realized that the company archive, which had been very carefully preserved and added to over the 180 something years, it was realized that archive had to be preserved. It had to be protected pretty much intact. There were a few items which were, seen as not important to the archive, but very valuable, perhaps intrinsically, and they were set to one side. But on the whole, the business archive itself was to be kept intact, and it was to be offered to an appropriate repository which could look after it and could develop it. Because although, in Peterborough, as managed by the Thomas Cook Company, the archive was used. A few academics knew of it, used it and so on, and the company used it for its own advertising and so on. It wasn't used in the way that, let's say, a public run archive would be used, which was, by a vast number of different sorts of people just popping in just on the off chance of finding something or looking at it. So the idea was that the archive should be preserved, but it should also be developed and made something of. Now, in doing that, there were a number of advantages. The main one was that it was intact and it was in good order and neatly stored in the room where you saw Jenny and me sitting a little while ago, stored on rolling racking and static shelving as well, in good order. It wasn't fully catalogued, but the archivists that they employed had a good idea of what was there and where things were and so on. So it was respected and used and understood and protected, but not as much as perhaps it could be. It consists of all sorts of things. The more you look at it, the more you find a huge variety of things: books, ephemera, photographs, videos, all sorts of things, covering company's activities really from the 1850s to the 2000s. So it is a wonderful, wonderful collection, and it had a significant number of artifacts as well. You know, any archive will accumulate strange little things that go with its documents, and Thomas Cook's was no different. And they had uniforms, you know, Victorian Edwardian uniforms. They had trophies that the staff clubs had won or competed for. There was even a huge teddy bear, wasn't there, Jenny? A vast teddy bear. What was the teddy bear from a football club that they had sponsored? They had been sponsored by or had sponsored
rugby.
Rugby, was it?
Shall I move on, because we're not really here to talk about why the company collapsed, but we're just giving a couple of reasons here, aren't we? That the
Yes,
debts, the rise of the internet, a number of reasons that we don't really know and that we can't really explore here. But as you've alluded to, I think this yellow, by the way, seemed like a really good idea at the time, the Thomas Cook Sunny Yellow. So I'm sorry if it's upsetting anybody. It seems very bright now.
I think it's very appropriate for Thomas Cook. Thomas Cook would have appeared. I mean, even that round the world thing is Thomas Cook yellow, isn't it? That poster we've got from the Southeastern Chatham Railway. So that's, you know, 100 years ago, isn't it? Really, even that's Thomas Cook yellow. So no, it's a good choice, that yellow, I think.
Yeah, strangely, it was Robin's idea.
Was it? They do say yellow sends you mad in the end, so maybe that explains more than we're letting on.
We intended only to brighten your day.
Yes. Well, let's move on anyway. This is the archive in Peterborough here. So yes, take us on, Jenny. Tell us what happened next when it was advertised that they were looking for somewhere to take on the project of the Thomas Cook Archive.
It's a very lovely building there, isn't it? This is the outside, and when we visited, as Robin says, there we are. There's the archive is in lovely condition. Several of the pictures we took. There's Big Ted.
Ah, there he is. Yes, he's you say he's a rugby playing teddy bear.
I do say that. Yes.
Yes.
We were contacted by the depositor, who confirms that his name is just Ted. So,
well, yes, yeah. Why not?
It was concerned about his welfare and whether he was with us and happy, and he is. We can say.
He's reasonably happy, I think. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he's pleased that we're now back in and can give him some company.
Yeah, well, he's a phlegmatic teddy bear. But let's not get bogged down with the teddy bear.
No, bye, Ted. You can say something about these.
Oh, well, these are there really to illustrate the fact that, as with lots of archives, the Thomas Cook Archive included some very strange, troublesome objects. Troublesome in terms of movement. You know, if we took on the archive, we also took on the model of the Prince Abbas, one of their Nile steamers in a case, but also a stained glass window, which was their First World War war memorial from their London offices, and it must be about 8 and 9 feet high. You know, it's a proper stained glass window, and we
exaggerate. It gets bigger every time we talk about it.
Yes, they waved airily at it and said, of course that would be yours as well if you bid for it and you were successful. You would have to take on that.
Well, do you remember when we visited, they said, oh, you're not getting the window, it's going somewhere else, and we didn't really pay much attention to it,
yes,
other
that's right.
admiring it. And then when we heard we'd got it,
yes.
They said, oh yes, and remember the window requires specialist work.
That's right.
So that was our first heart attack.
Yes. So you know, it wasn't simply a matter of turning up with a few boxes and putting the books into the box and driving off with the boot of your car full. This was many vans full, potentially, and also a removal problem in that we were removing or would be removing fragile items that were very large and troublesome. So these are all things that we were beginning to think about when we were thinking, shall we bid?
Yes. So that's not a picture. It's actually a large, heavy and delicate window.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
having encroached on your bit, shall I do my bit?
Yes, yes, please do. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right to move us on. I am a chronic windbag and have to be stopped. But yes, go on.
That's not really true. I just feel I ought to be saying things
Yes.
at all times. So the bid. You've just seen the pictures, which were pretty much taken on the day we first saw the archive. In short, we fell in love with it, didn't we? We were so excited and thrilled and scared, and it was a roller coaster of emotions. But we felt we had to try on behalf of all our users, our stakeholders, ourselves. It was so wonderful. We knew everything we looked at was fantastic, that we had to at least try to get it. But as you've said, it was also a very hard decision, because we knew what a challenge it was going to be for our small service to even transport the collection. We were quite lucky that Peterborough is only 40 miles from Wigston, where we're based, but it was going to be such a challenge for us that, of course, we wondered whether we could do it. And there are a number of silly pictures of me. There's one of them.
Yes.
Standing by an ice lolly. Thanks, Robin.
It was a challenge and an opportunity of a career, wasn't it? Really, Jenny.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Nicely put. It was. There we are. And also, as with many archive services, we're also full. So there we are, packed to the rafters. So we haven't got anywhere to put it, basically. So, undaunted, or rather daunted, but determined, we carried on. So when I look at this, I think, oh gosh, I just don't understand how we managed to do it. Time was very short. The 9th of November, we first received details of the collection, which were on 4 sides of A4. We'd expressed an interest. Other places had expressed an interest. When we were visiting, we were trying to find out who else was interested, weren't we? And they were commendably and irritatingly discreet.
They were very good. They were very, very professional. Yeah.
Yeah. Despite my much interest in this.
Yes.
You can tell us. Anyway, they didn't tell us. They said,
No.
oh yes, quite a lot.
Yes.
And we thought, oh, places like ours don't get things like this.
No.
So on the 19th of November, we saw the collection for the very first time. And then the 22nd was the deadline for submitting the bid. Fortunately, we're used to ridiculous deadlines, aren't we?
We are.
And then less than a week later, we heard we'd been awarded the archive. Do you remember how you told me, Robin?
I do. Yes, I do. You were actually lecturing a group that had come to visit the record office, and an email appeared saying,
lecturing them.
Well, talking to them. You were talking to them. I thought I'd call it a lecture because it sounds more impressive. I didn't mean to make it sound as if you were boring the pants off them or something like that. But you were talking to a group, and an email arrived, and I thought, well, do I wait an hour to tell you? And I couldn't wait. I had to tell you. So I actually did the disgraceful thing of interrupting your presentation, and so wandered in and said, I've got some very important news. And then I thought, this is going to sound as if something dreadful's happened, some member of the family is ill or something like that. But no, I simply couldn't wait to tell you, and dragged you off into another room. But we were up in the clouds, weren't we? Really,
we were. I was glad you did, but you looked so serious when you came in, and I thought, well, you wouldn't interrupt for nothing.
That's right.
So I assumed, and then you said we've got Thomas Cook, and I just couldn't comprehend that for a moment. And then, of course, I had to go back in and complete my group visit and my tour around the office. And all that morning, I was thinking, this isn't some dream. Robin did just come in and say, we've got Thomas Cook, didn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Also, we couldn't tell anybody.
That's true. There was an embargo on it. So yes, we were allowed to tell our immediate superiors, and we were allowed to tell the team that would have to do the work of moving it with us and so on. But apart from that, we couldn't tell anybody, and we were beginning to have people asking us, weren't we? You know,
Yeah.
even the press would ring up, or Radio Leicester would ring up and say, "Any news yet?" And we weren't allowed to say anything at all.
We go, oh no, we're waiting for an announcement, which was sort of true.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So how did we do it? Why did we get it? There were things in our favour. Our parent body, Leicestershire County Council, were supportive, and also our partner authorities, as well they might be.
Yes.
We're very grateful to our local universities, Leicester and De Montfort, who provided letters of support. So I think it would have been difficult if they'd said, no, we want to bid too. So 3 bids from Leicestershire, I think, would have meant, no, none of you are getting it.
We'd have cancelled each other out, I think, wouldn't we? But we had a united front, which was very valuable and very much appreciated too. You know, we were very grateful to all the people round about us who said, "Oh, you must go for it. We'll support you. Would you like a letter of support?" And so on. So they were very good.
Yes, and the Oral History Archive and MACE, the Media Archive for Central England, were also supportive, which was important because we have oral history material and multimedia. There are digital things, there are VHS tapes, all kinds of stuff. So we proved that we could not only take it, but also look after it and develop it. And also, as we've said, we're old hands at this sort of thing, aren't we? That can we have it by 5 o'clock? Oh yes, of course you can.
Yes. I think our reputation, you know, I don't want to blow our own trumpet too much. It's not very seemly, but I think our reputation as a record office that could take on challenges and deal with them, and also did have quite a reputation as an outreach focused sort of body. I think that served us well, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that's certainly one of our strengths.
Yes.
I will say that you in particular had a lot of experience of writing large bids, which served us really well there. I know you'd be too modest to say it yourself, but
well, I would say all these things are teamwork, and we had a very good team. So we could write a good bid, but we could write a credible bid as well. You know, if we offered things and said we would undertake certain things, you know, this is before COVID-19. You know, we'd say we will do this and we will do that with the collection. It was credible because we had done similar things in the past.
Yeah. Right. So what did we actually do? There's our van outside.
That's it. That's the back of the Peterborough offices and our van. We heard the news at the end of November, didn't we? And they gave us basically until Christmas to do it. So by the first week of December, we were actually moving things. We had the support of the authority, so that, you know, that enables to say we insist on having the van, and we insist on having the man who drives the van to help us and all that sort of thing. And that was done. And later on, when we realized we needed another bigger van, they actually sorted that out for us. But we had a very willing team who were willing to drive their cars as well, so we could take 3-4 people over each day, which made filling the van easier. And then, of course, we had to unload it at the other end. So you can imagine, with the dark days before Christmas, you know, you've got short days there and not particularly good weather. We were battling back and forth almost every day to Peterborough, trying to keep it in a correct order. We marked everything up to move, and we had shelves awaiting it, so we duplicated, in effect, the archive at Wigston, so that when we come to catalogue it, we will have some semblance of order. And all this, I personally found it absolutely exhausting by about the 23rd of December, when we'd finished. You know, I was absolutely shattered. That was, you know, I was ready for the Christmas break. I really was, because it was an endless, or seemingly endless, slog of day after day after day driving to Peterborough and back. and hard work loading and hard work unloading and all this sort of thing. I mean, I know you're um, far more buoyant than I am in these matters, but it was wearing, wasn't it, Jenny?
Yes, yeah, of course it was. I know I was sort of on an adrenaline fueled high throughout December. It was absolutely, I loved it. I knew this is never going to happen to me again.
No.
It's incredible. It's happened once. Most archivists will never experience that in their entire careers. And yes, I was determined to enjoy it properly. And
Yes,
I loved it.
Yes, move us on a few pictures, and I think we've got some images of them. Here we are. I mean, this is typical. This is what it was like. That it was a mixture of filling boxes onto trolleys and out to the van, but also there was an awful lot of wrapping up fragile items or items that might have been damaged in the move. So there was a lot of packing to be done when we arrived. So it was one van a day basically, because it took us all that time to pack, load the van, and then unload at the other end. And of course, if we go on to the next slide, there are the things that require the special treatment, I think. Oh, here more scenes. You can, that one is stuff awaiting to go, and then the rather pleasing one is the empty shelves. We'd moved all those things and left the place tidy, except for one scrap of paper. We should have picked that up.
I think we did pick it up.
I'm sure we did.
I'm sure we wouldn't have left a mess.
Yes. And haven't we got some of the glassware going, the stained glass and so on going?
Yeah, there we are. There's the window. So the one tiny thing.
That's right. Yeah. Yes.
There it is. You can get a sense of the scale of it there, where we've got one person moving it and the rest of us supervising and taking pictures.
That's right. I mean, the one advantage of being in a heritage service is that we had access to sort of people who were used to moving large museum objects, probably used to moving large stained glass windows, for all I know, and they just took it in their stride, really, didn't they? That they created a box, measured it up, created a wooden crate for it,
which is what you can see in the bottom picture.
Yes,
that's the window in its crate.
That's it. Took it off the wall, and there it was. That's our van driver, excellent van driver, who's as good at watching other people do work as we were, apparently.
What a mean thing to say about it. Well, he was great.
He was. Yes. Well, we all worked very hard.
We all did. We all pulled together. But when we were moving the window, we assumed that Thomas Cook had got some specialist contractors in, and then when we talked to Paul Smith, their former archivist, who gave us a lot of help.
Yes.
He said, "Oh no, they just got a gang of builders and they bodged it into position." Yeah.
Tap, 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 bang, 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 and there it was. Yeah, which is very worrying, because it could have gone wrong at any moment, or after 100 years, it might not have withstood the strain. But we were professional, and they knew what they were doing, and we were lucky too. So everything moved, even the Prince Abbas, and there we are. There you are. There's just the sort of the ghost of Thomas Cook on his traveller's check, gazing out from the, it's like having his teeth pulled, really, isn't it? It's rather sad. In fact, it actually was rather depressing experience in some ways, going to the empty offices, because we were watching the end of the company. Every time we went, there were fewer people there as they laid more and more off, and miraculously, they were all charming, weren't they?
They were all, absolutely lovely. But looking at the foyer, where it was presumably once very busy and lovely company HQ, and we'd have been heartbroken. And even then, we felt it. We were very aware, weren't we, of not only the privilege that we had of doing it and witnessing something like that, but also the pain of the staff, and not just the staff in Peterborough, but people who were laid off all over the place, and also of people we don't really know about or hear about.
Yes. I was very impressed that the people we met whose careers, had come to a dead standstill, really. They were all very interested in what was happening to the archives. They valued it. They saw its importance, and they were really quite pleased that someone had stepped in to save it. Their view was not, you're stealing our treasures or you're picking the carcass clean. No, their view very much was, well, we're glad to see it's going somewhere safe. And a lot of them said that we're very pleased it's not going that far away.
Yeah.
As if they were thinking, well, in the future, I might pop over and have a look, which, was very pleasing. And I hope they do. And I hope they appreciate what we've done and, are pleased with it too, the way we care for it. So
Yeah, we felt it's a debt, isn't it? It's a sacred trust. I know it sounds like a cliche, but
no, that's a very good way of putting it. I think it is a sacred trust. They trusted us. We have the care of this priceless stuff, really, and we have a duty now to live up to it.
So here we are, Monday, the 23rd of December. And we'd finally moved it.
Yes, and this sort of duplicates the arrangement on those white shelves on our grey shelves, so everything is numbered up in the shelving order that Thomas Cook had, preparatory to being catalogued. So, where do we go now?
Well, there we were, absolutely miraculous, I think, and we'll have a shout out to our colleague Adam. Who managed somehow to organise the right amount of space for it, which is nothing short of a miracle. It was a Christmas miracle.
Yes. It was wonderful, it was wonderful to stop for Christmas, but, full stop. But it was also wonderful to stop for Christmas, knowing that the stuff was safe, that we had saved it, we had transported it, against all the odds. Really, it was quite an achievement.
Yeah, we had done it. You had a carol concert that day.
That's right. I guess I left work. I sort of dragged myself away exhausted, straight to carols on the green in our village. Yeah,
I'll never know how you summoned up the energy to do that. I went home and had a glass of
wine. Yes, I don't know. I really don't know. Never again, I hope. But anyway. So where next? Where do we go next, Jenny?
Where next? Yes. Well, as you can see here, a lot of it needs conservation, repackaging, as many collections of course do, but we've set aside money in the budget to do that. There was a lot of promotion and publicity. People loved it, of course. It's something that that everybody's heard of, isn't it? Everybody knows, and they really wanted. Lots of people were delighted that it was coming home to Leicestershire, where the company started. And it's really nice that the company has connections with Leicestershire, Leicester, and Rutland as well.
Yes. This is Central Television News, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So that was good. Few things there from the
it's great stuff. It gives and gives, doesn't it? It's a wonderful collection, and as I said earlier, the more you look into it, the more you find, and it just repays. Even 5 minutes with it repays. You discover such treasures.
There's that little I really like that little leather case. It's tiny, isn't it? For your
yes.
It
sits in the palm of your hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. All of it. I'm in love with it all over again now.
Yes. This is it.
Here we are. We've said some thank yous already, but the Business Archives Council spearheaded the campaign to save it, and without them, there would have been no bidding process, and would have been nothing to do with us. We'd have watched from a distance instead of being in the thick of it. So well done to them, and also to all the researchers and members of the public and people who expressed concern about it, that often the
Yes.
archive is the last thing anybody thinks about until it's too late. And a lot of that stuff, especially the modern brochures and things, I think would have just gone in a skip when they cleared the building.
Yes. Yes. I'm sure it does happen to a lot of companies,
Yeah.
that nobody notices, comes to an end and they clear the building and that's it. It's gone.
Yeah. Especially now. So if you're listening to this and thinking that companies are going bust in the pandemic, that is something to think about, everybody.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's my lecture. The chap in the middle is Paul Smith, who's the former Thomas Cook archivist, and he visited us. Paul and I had lunch in the days you could go to a cafe and have lunch. And he's great. He's hopefully he'll still help us. He said he would, but he was so committed. He's a thoroughly nice guy and also a true professional. So we salute
very
him.
Generous, very generous with his expertise and knowledge. Yes, yeah.
And we've mentioned the staff. That's a lady called Jules who used to work in procurement, and we're in touch still with a number of people. That's me on the right with shorter hair. We said the staff were amazing, really lovely and generous.
Yes.
She was particularly sweet, wasn't she?
She was very helpful, and she was also very interested. I think she was typical, really, of them, and she made a point of coming to, not in a nosy, interfering way at all. She strolled over and she asked us what we were doing and how it was going, and there were things we asked for her assistance. Was it possible to do this, that, and the other? And she said, well, yes, I can arrange that. I can help you with that, and so on. So she was typical, that she was actually a very pleasant face of Thomas Cook's, despite everything, really.
Yeah, it must have been a horrible time for all of them. But anyway, right, so over to you. Another bid. Your reward for doing a successful bid is
that's right. Yes. It was obvious, really. It was obvious that we would need. I mean, we could cope with cataloguing it, but it would come at the expense of so many other things in our normal duties that we thought the obvious thing to do was to go for an archives revealed cataloguing grant, and we applied. We had quite a short time again, didn't we, to put that in, but we pulled that together. Again, it was teamwork. Jenny and I, we put the bid together, didn't we?
We did. A nice picture of you actually writing it there.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, but we did. Well, clearly we did a decent bid because we were successful. We heard that we'd been successful. We were, first of all, we went through to stage 2, and then the stage 2, of course, is a huge, really commitment, both in time, but also a commitment for the future, because you promise all the things that you're going to do. And on the strength of that, again, we heard that we'd been awarded 40,000, which is the maximum. It is the grant, and the intention is to employ an archivist for a year to get the thing catalogued, because everything else will follow from it being catalogued. When we know what we've got, then we can use it, promote it, and make it available, both in person and also digitally. So, we're really waiting to get on with this. But of course, the great shadow, that awful dark shadow of COVID-19 crossed us at this point, and we haven't been able to advertise or appoint and get on with it. Normally, if COVID hadn't happened, we would probably be talking with our Thomas Cook archivist, I expect. So watch this space. We wish to make something of it. So look out for the advertisement coming up. We hope to have someone in place before the end of the year with a bit of luck, and then soon after we will begin to catalogue it and we will begin to promote it. So it will be a work in progress for a year, maybe 18 months, something like that, and then Thomas Cook will be fully available, and we will start to do exciting things with our newfound treasures.
Absolutely, it'll be a career highlight for somebody.
It will, won't it? It will, yes.
I'm almost, well, I won't say I'm almost jealous. I am. Perhaps I should apply.
Wow.
working on a collection like that, especially sort of if you're relatively newly qualified, well, I think at whatever stage, would
Yes,
be absolutely astonishingly
it
good.
is. It's a magical thing, isn't it? It really is a wonderful, wonderful collection. When you just walk down the shelves and you look to one side and then the other, and you see, on one side you can see the Excursionist magazine from 1863 or something, when they're just opening up Switzerland for climbers and tourists, and on the other side there's a whole scrapbook relating to the Kaiser's visit to the Holy Land in 1910 or whenever it was. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It really is. Absolutely wonderful, a wonderful collection.
Do you know, when we started coming back to work, that was the first thing that I wanted to see. I wanted to go, and it's kind of what I do every morning when I'm in the office, is go in and have a look at it and just check it's still
Yes.
there.
Yes, yeah. It's quite something, and it's something that we can look back on and say we did that. We arranged that, we bid for that, we got that, we brought that in. And almost as exciting is where we go now, all the opportunities we have for using it. So there it is. Our journey is just beginning. It really is just beginning, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've packed our bags and we've loaded them into our cabins, but we're off on the great adventure.
Yes, our great expedition.
Mm.
And here we are in the flesh. Hello.
I can see me. I can't see you.
No, I can see you.
Yeah, we're both there, are we? That's good. Yes.
I think so. So I think that's all we have to say, isn't it? That's long enough. We could talk for much longer, but you'll probably, if you're watching this, you probably need a cup of tea or something stronger.
Yes. Well, in the future, look out for Thomas Cook, and in a couple of years, come and have a look at it. Come and see what we've got, and keep an eye open for our events, because we'll be doing all sorts of things to promote it.
We will. Right. Shall we say goodbye to everybody?
I think we should. We salute them, don't we?
We do. Cheers.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.